At the height of its popularity, Young Justice seemed unstoppable. So how did one of DC's most beloved shows end up fighting for its survival? Welcome to Part 2. For 3 long years, Young Justice was a ghost, a what-if, debated on Reddit forums and YouTube comment sections. But then, the rules of television changed. When Warner Brothers licensed the first 2 seasons of Young Justice to Netflix, they probably just viewed it as a way to squeeze a few extra licensing dollars out of a dead IP. They completely underestimated the audience. When the show hit the platform, the numbers were explosive. People weren't just watching it, they were binging it. And because Netflix operates on pure algorithm data, the metrics proved what the fans had been screaming for years. There was a massive, highly engaged adult audience starving for this universe. The fans weaponized this data. The hashtag Renew Young Justice campaign wasn't just a hashtag, it was an organized strike. Fans coordinated mass rewatches to keep the show trending in the top 10. They bought digital copies on iTunes. They bought the tie-in comics. They made it mathematically impossible for Warner Brothers to ignore them. And in November 2016, the miracle happened. Warner Brothers announced Season 3, Outsiders. But they traded one master for another. They escaped the toy cage, only to walk directly into the streaming trap. Young Justice. Outsiders wouldn't air on Cartoon Network. It was chosen to be the flagship launch title for a brand new, highly risky platform, the DC Universe streaming app. At first, this felt like a massive win. Without Mattel breathing down their necks, and without the broadcast standards and practices of a children's network, Weissman and Vietti took the training wheels off. Season 3 was brutal. It dealt heavily with metahuman trafficking. We saw characters brutally murdered on screen.
Why I'm here.
We saw Halo die. In increasingly violent ways almost every episode. We saw the psychological toll of the superhero life pushed to its absolute limit. The show had finally grown up with the audience that fought to bring it back. It was successful enough to secure a Season 4, Phantoms. The creators adopted a new arc-based format, giving deep, emotional closure to the original core team members. It felt like Young Justice had finally beaten the system. They had survived cancellation. They had adapted to the streaming era, but they forgot the golden rule of corporate media. A home is only as safe as the person who owns the building, and the building was about to be sold. While Season 4 was airing, AT&T decided they were done playing in the entertainment space. They spun off Warner Media, merging it with Discovery Inc. The DC Universe app had already been killed off, with its content absorbed into HBO Max. But this new merger wasn't about growth, it was about debt. A new CEO took the throne, and Young Justice was about to find itself back on the chopping block. Welcome to the current betrayal. When David Zaslav took over Warner Brothers Discovery, the industry experienced a bloodbath. Fully completed movies like Batgirl were locked in a vault forever, just to save a few dollars on taxes. Whole sections of the HBO Max animation library were purged over a weekend. In this environment, an expensive, 2D animated, continuity-heavy superhero show is a massive liability. Without a toy partner to foot the bill, Young Justice relies entirely on generating enough new streaming subscriptions to justify its budget. And in the modern streaming wars, that is an impossibly high bar. But the final nail in the coffin wasn't just Zaslav's budget cuts. It was the restructuring of DC itself. In late 2022, James Gunn and Peter Safran were handed the keys to the newly formed DC Studios. Their mandate was absolute: create a unified, cohesive cinematic universe. One Batman, one Superman, one timeline spanning movies, games, and television. So, where does Young Justice fit into James Gunn's vision? It doesn't. Young Justice takes place on Earth 16. It has its own lore, its own voice actors, and its own massive continuity. In the eyes of corporate brand synergy, it is a distraction. Why spend millions animating a new season of Young Justice when you are trying to convince audiences to watch your new live-action DCU? We are seeing this play out right now in 2026. DC Studios is currently pushing forward with their unified animated projects, like Creature Commandos and the new Blue Beetle series. Meanwhile, the Young Justice iteration of Blue Beetle, arguably the best version of the character ever put on screen, is left to gather dust. Voice actors from the show have openly stated in recent convention appearances that there have been absolutely zero talks regarding Season 5. But here is the most heartbreaking part. At SDCC in 2025, Greg Wiseman confirmed that the story is nowhere near finished. He doesn't just have an idea for Season 5, he has a roadmap mapped out for Seasons 9 and 10.
No, you weren't. We had a basic 5-season plan, and with each season that we've done, that plan is kept moving out. So we now have stuff that could easily take us through, like, I don't know, 9, 10 seasons or something like that.
The scripts are ready. The cast is waiting. The fans are still here. But the show is trapped in internal limbo. It hasn't been officially canceled with a press release because studios know that triggers a PR nightmare. Instead, they are just letting it silently bleed out in the dark. It is the exact same betrayal we saw in 2013, just with a different face. Back then, the show was killed for toys. Today, it's being killed for brand synergy. So, what is the legacy of Young Justice? Is it a failure? Absolutely not. Young Justice is a testament to what happens when creators genuinely respect their audience. It proved that Western animation can be just as deep, just as tragic, and just as important as any multi-million-dollar live-action blockbuster. The industry tried to kill it because it didn't fit into a convenient revenue bucket. They tried to bury it because it was too complex for a toy commercial, and now they're ignoring it because it doesn't fit neatly into a cinematic universe spreadsheet. But you cannot kill a story that people care about. If there is one thing we learned in 2016, it's that the corporate suits are not invincible. Data can force their hand. If you want Season 5, don't just complain on social media. Stream it. Leave the show running in the background on Max. Prove to the algorithm that Earth 16 is a brand they cannot afford to leave in the vault. Young Justice was a show that told us that even teenagers, working from the shadows, could change the world. It's time we prove them right. The networks want you to be underwhelmed. They want you to quietly move on to the next cheap reboot. But me, I'm staying whelmed.